Welcome into the DNVR Rockies Podcast presented by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use that promo code DNVR20 because you'll save 20% off your entire purchase of that CBD infused, deliciously rich, potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee. I am your host, Drew Creasman. I am the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as always, is beat writer Patrick Lyons. And on this episode, Patrick, we're not just discussing a 5-0 win over the Seattle Mariners. We are discussing the 6th one-hitter in the history of the Colorado Rockies, the 7th time in their history they've thrown a one-hitter or better. For those of you thinking, right, the Ubaldo, the one time they threw a no-hitter. One of the best pitching performances in Colorado Rockies history. It came combined as a team, and in the major league debut of Ryan Castellani. What a ball game from Rockies pitching.
Oh, and if that's not enough, you do have the Dodgers losing and the Padres losing to give the Rockies even more of a lead in the NL West, and with a couple other losses, Marlins being one of them, Cubs, your Colorado Rockies now have a .786 winning percentage, the best in all of Major League Baseball. What a night. What a night.
Night. And actually, as our guy Kirby points out, pretty good Denver sports day. A tough loss at the last second there for the Avs, but the Nuggets gonna get a win in double overtime. The Rockies improved to 11-3. They win another ball game that on paper it looked like ahead of time maybe they shouldn't. Now they're basically 2-0 in games where you looked at it on paper and went, that pitching matchup doesn't settle out so well for the Rockies. In the first, that ended up kind of being the case with Chichi Gonzalez, and the offense bailed them out and won them that game, but that was not the case tonight. I can't put it off. I was going to try to put it off. I was going to go through a couple of comments. I was going to tease for a second, maybe talk about the bullpen first, and put the draft king of the game back. I can't. We can't do it, Patrick. We have got to talk about the young man, Ryan Castellani, drafted out of high school by the Colorado Rockies 47 years ago, I think, has gone through injury issues. He had never had great numbers in the minors, always kind of been challenged by the Rockies, one level ahead of where he would maybe normally be. And so his numbers never looked great. He's had some command issues here and there. He's drawn comparisons to Max Scherzer before because of the delivery. And I didn't want to, stress that too much before his start tonight. But boy, were there a lot of people. Like, I'm almost surprised that Max Scherzer wasn't trending because of Ryan Castellani.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good story, how they, the kind of relationship that they had, so to speak, and just how they do look a lot alike, kind of 3/4 arm slot coming out of there. You saw that 1 to 7 o'clock curveball right now to true 12 to 6 where it's dropping down. It's kind of slashing across a little bit there. It was very effective. I think he used it for that first strikeout of J.P. Crawford to open the game. So, as great of a start as it was, where you say, hey, you struck out the first guy you face in the major leagues on 3 pitches. Kid, it can't get any better than that.
Start it off. And yeah, Patrick, he kept going. He pitched, just the 4+. I love it that we're always going to have to say 4+. That's another fun, weird, interesting thing about this, because he was perfect for those first 12 hitters that he faced. Really, really impressive stuff out there. He was giving up some hard hit balls. I will say that the thick air of Seattle, this is twice now we've sort of seen the opposite of Coors Field. I felt this way in Texas. We're seeing it again here in Seattle. I counted 3 against him that I thought, in some other ballparks, in some other conditions, maybe in a day game, that's going to get out. So maybe not as great a start from a process standpoint as it seemed, but he also was getting a lot of swings and misses. He was breaking off a filthy curveball, and he ends up being our draft king of the game. And by the way, remember to use that promo code DNVR because you can get a sign-up bonus of up to $1,000 on that thing. But because of the poise that he showed in his ability to get through this game, and you saw there he came out in the fifth after the Rockies did about 20 minutes worth of scoring, and he just didn't have it anymore. And I think Buddy wisely went, you know what? I'm going to let this kid walk out of here, out of his first major league start, having not given up a hit, knowing he's put us in a position to win the baseball game.
It gave him an opportunity to continue with the perfect game, of course, before he ends up hitting Dan Vogelback right there at the beginning of the fifth, gave him that next batter as well. And you're right, he had 6 hard-hit balls against him. In fact, that ball that Kyle Lewis hit in the first inning had a rather high expected batting average on. Again, good placement with Garrett Hampson out there and left, and again, just being so speedy
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Lewis is a beast. But you know what they say? Sometimes luck or good luck is a residue of design, and I think exactly the way that Buddy drew it up, where he was going to get more innings out of Castellani. He said it pregame that while you think maybe Jeff Hoffman deserves a start, he hasn't been doing it. The Rockies have needed him as a long reliever, and he just wasn't really able to probably go 4 or 5 innings. Now, he did go 3 innings tonight, only gave up that 1 hit to J.P. Crawford there in the 6th inning, 2 hours after the game started. 2 hours, think about that.
Yeah.
120 minutes went by before Seattle were able to get their first knock, and then then all the time went by before they were going to get their next one because they didn't get anything more than that. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but Germán Marquez no-hit watch begins now. That could happen tomorrow.
They get to now turn around and hand the ball to that guy. Like you said, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here, but the comment section absolutely blowing up here. Very excited about Ryan Castellani. I was trying to figure out, I saw the question come in here, where it was so long ago that he was drafted. I was trying to remember where.
Yeah, so it was 2014, and he was selected in the 2nd round. I forget what the actual number was. I thought it might have been in the 40s or something like that. But 2nd round pick for a kid, who's playing ball in Arizona. So he's doing it, year round. So that was a really big coup that they were able to nab him. Yeah, he was 48th overall right there. So finally, getting that opportunity to do it, working out well at the satellite site and provided some length, which was, really helpful. You think about a game like this where, your 5th starter or just your starter in general is not going to be able to go. And in this weird truncated season, who can you rely on for innings? Well, they only end up using 4 guys. That's pretty darn impressive. And again, with Marquez going tomorrow, you think, man, that's really going to shape up really well going into that Arizona series back at home at the start of next week.
Yeah, I mean, really, this couldn't have come at a better time. You got to assume it's going to be confidence building for Castellani as well. If they decide, which you would think they would, to at least hand him the ball the next time out, and maybe he won't be on quite as strict a pitch limit. Maybe then Buddy gives him a chance to work through it a little bit more, but it's still only 5 more days. There's only so much more time to get that. He's still not going to be at 100, whatever we see of him to this point. And he kind of matches up perfectly here with Jeff Hoffman, as you were talking about. How about the job from this young man who has had all of the doubters, and for plenty of reason over the years, after he had 1 month at the beginning of 2017, which feels like forever ago when he was really good. That's kind of the only time he's had success in the majors. And until now, he's really been good out of the bullpen so far this year for the Rockies. And inheriting this situation today, trying not to give back all of the momentum that the offense has just gotten. Couple of guys on. You also don't want to throw away the great start from the kid. And Hoffman goes out there, and in 5 pitches, the inning is over.
Yeah, I can't believe it was only 31 pitches in 3 innings, and he walked a batter too. So that's pretty impressive. He was that efficient. He was pitching to contact. Only gave up 2 hard hit balls, 3 grounders, 2 fly ball outs, he struck out 2 batters there. So again, you like to see that and say, you know what, Jeff, you might be able to ratchet it up to 97 miles per hour on a good day, but again, just pitch to that weak contact, right? Let your defense behind you do the work, and they did absolutely that. There weren't too many Ks for the Mariners overall, and yeah, really promising to see Hoffman do that, and that's what you want, is for him to go out with these longer outings, to then say, well, all right, maybe you can transition back into that starting pitcher, and there are teams out there that probably look at him as he still could be a starting pitcher, but on this team right now, he's not, and you like that competitive balance, if you will, between Castellani and Hoffman, where you say, all right, well, Jeff, maybe you can go and take Castellani's spot as the 5th man in the rotation, but that probably won't be happening until Castellani gives up his first hit as a big leaguer.
Hit, yeah. At least he's going to have to give up.
Of all the firsts he was able to accomplish tonight, there was one in which he failed. So you know what? We got to be fair. He failed to give up his first hit. So
do they
Ryan
keep
Castellani,
that baseball? Do they throw that one into the dugout? Hey, here's the first hit you gave up, man. They should for the next. That would be great. Somebody should do that.
No, he should get to keep all of the game balls because he didn't give up any hits. So there you go. Just give him a bucket full and go, hey, this is from your first start.
Yeah. We got a couple of people asking questions in here, and I see, and I'm going to toast to them while we ask about them. I see Rachel asking, when will the national media start discussing the Rockies, or am I missing it? Henry saying Colorado really needs more national attention thanks to their 5 straight series wins. Thank you. I knew there was one stat I had left out of the intro. You got me, Henry. You got me. They could own the NL West if the Rockies keep winning and the Dodgers keep losing. Well, certainly that would be the formula to make it happen. Absolutely. But you got to ask yourself this question as I toast my Breckenridge brew to the national media. Do you want them paying attention to your Colorado Rockies? Is that a thing that you're into and believe in? Because I will say, I don't know that it's necessarily a thing that I buy into. I'm not a, what's the phrase? I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious.
Yes.
Right? I'm just
very apropos, as a Charlie Blackmon quote,
right.
that he's now made famous. We're gonna attribute it to him at this point.
Yeah,
why
right.
not?
Yeah,
why not?
That's right. And so, but I do think about this. National media slept on the Rockies in 2017. They slept on them in 2018. They were all over them in 2019. They caught up in 2019. They were the team. They were the sexy dark horse pick in 2019. We all know what happened. They went away and abandoned them. I'm not sure you necessarily, again, I don't buy into that too much. I do think there's something about expectation and pressure that comes with those things. But yes, like many of you, I do get very frustrated at times when it's like when they were down in Texas and they put up the graphic about the best players over the last 3 years, and it's Joey Gallo and Christian Yelich and Cody Bellinger, and you're like, I feel like you're missing somebody. Stuff like that does get irritating. At the same time, they'll talk. They'll find out. They're about to find out.
Yeah, I think it's starting to turn a little bit. I saw a graphic recently about the top 10 pitchers in the game, and Herman Marquez was on that list. So it's like, okay, it's starting, right? And then again, if they're able to pull out a win again tomorrow against Seattle, which you definitely think they're going to with Marquis Del Rey on the hill, they're going to go into Monday not only with the NL West lead, but they're still going to have the best record in all of baseball. And Monday morning, people are going to open up their paper, they're going to boot up their laptop, and they're going to see that the best record is the Colorado Rockies, and they're going to start to believe. They're going to see how well they're playing on the road. Right now, they're 6-1, I believe, on the road. That's right. They're 4-1 against teams with winning records. So they're doing it in a lot of different ways. Again, this is a small sample size, but it doesn't matter, because anytime there's a sample size of now 14 games, 2+ weeks, you go, well, wait a minute, this team has been playing incredibly well for these 2 weeks. What does that mean? If it's a team that's not very good, you say, man, they're going to be exciting in a couple years when some of these young guys, start to develop even more. We're getting a glimpse of that. Or if you have a great team doing it, you go, well, this is what we expect. Well, now you've got a team like the Rockies who people didn't know what group to put them in. Are they kind of the bottom of the middle tier? Are they at the top of that lowest tier? Regardless of what you thought, they are starting to show you that, hey, you know what? They deserve to be a lot higher. They deserve to be appreciated a lot more. And really the conversation as far as national media is concerned is when you get to the season-ending voting and you say, it doesn't matter because the Rockies are going to have a win-loss record based on what they do on the field, and that's the bottom line. Right. Really, national media only factors in when you say, hey, wait a minute, how many votes did you give this guy? Or where did you put Nolan Arenado on your ballot, or Charlie Blackmon in this instance? That's where it becomes vital, and I'm glad that they're starting to see what they're doing now so early in the season.
100%. There's one other way that I'm glad Christopher wrote in, because I was going to say almost the exact same thing, just about, awards and obviously eventually the Hall of Fame. That's when you really care about this. Christopher mentioning, though, I want the national media attention so I can watch Rockies games while back in college later this month. Sometimes if you get that respect from the national media, they put you on TV that more people have access to, and that's nice as well. So that's one of the things that can come with it, but there's certainly an argument to be made that the Rockies are doing just fine, flying under the radar, as the proverbial phrase goes. And there's one, I don't know how we got 16, almost 17 minutes into this without talking about this next person. And a little too late, or a little too much, a little too late again, you say the whole thing, writes in quite simply, and I hope this is a tattoo you're planning on getting, Chuck Nasty for president. Patrick, he's hitting 455. That's not a typo. It's a real thing. He came up. This is what blew my mind about the Charlie Blackmon thing. And I see Will throwing some stats I'm going to put up here in just a minute. But he was 2 for 2 in the game already, bringing his batting average up to like 420 something. And then he comes up with the bases loaded. And my baseball brain went, damn. He's opposite due, right? He's had too many hits lately. He's going to roll one over and do a double play because this is baseball. And dude launched one off the top of the wall in right field on a night where nothing was traveling like that.
Yeah, he's just been unstoppable. Whether you're a right-handed pitcher, whether you're a left-handed pitcher, he's been just phenomenal. He's picking up the slack that that Nolan Arenado has been unable to do, going 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Whereas Charlie Blackmon, I think one of the stats was he's 12 for 20 against left-handed pitching, which is insane right there. So, and just what he's been able to do to separate Story and Arenado, the two right-handed bats, like the depth and the flexibility that that gives Buddy, or at least the pickle that it puts the opposing manager in, because now you can't just bring in your best right-handed hitter, or maybe you bring in your best left-handed hitter. It doesn't matter. Charlie Blackmon is hitting it. He's second in baseball right now in batting average behind Donovan Solano. Get out of here, Donovan. You don't belong in that group. Solano. So those two are the only guys batting over 400. And who's in third place? DJ LeMahieu, but we'll talk about that another day. Yeah, he's leading all of baseball in on-base percentage, and in OPS right now he's fifth after Saturday night. So he's doing it on all fronts, and it's just so impressive right now to see what he's doing and leading this offense, who Buddy has said it the last couple days, they have still yet to hit their stride. They are not even close to what he expects them to be.
No. Will pointing out, Charlie Blackmon's got a 299 OPS plus against left-handed pitching right now, a 1.357 raw OPS against lefties. The guy you figure, well, I'll go get my best one of these, and they'll come get Charlie Blackmon out. Right?
He should be an honorary switch hitter. He's an honorary switch hitter. I would really be curious. We'll have to ask Eddie Murray one day if we ever have the Orioles great on the podcast. Is he an honorary switch hitter? I know he only does it from the left, but that's impressive.
It was, I mean, like I said, I really did say, and it's silly because you think, well, he's hot right now, but when he had 2 hits in the game, and 3 hits in the game before that, and 2 hits in the game before that, and a hit in the game before that, and 3 hits in the game before that, and he comes up with the bases loaded, you just go, this is the one. This is the one. He rolls over, into the double play, and he crushed the first pitch he saw, and yeah, you start going, maybe this. By the way, Trevor Story scored another. I think I just called him Trevor Story.
That's a thing. That's a thing now. It's going to
All
be.
right. He scored another run on that one, so check your DraftKings Sportsbook app for that because that continues to be a thing. Charlie Blackmon, obviously, in the hits department, that continues to be a thing. Got to be careful now. Charlie Blackmon might steal that MVP right out from underneath Trevor Story's nose if he's not careful. Grabbed another stolen base tonight. That'll help in the old box score, as it were.
He did. Yeah, Blackmon has 25 hits so far this season, tops in all of baseball. And Trevor Story has 13 runs scored. 3 guys right now have 14, and they've all played at least one more game than him. Right. So
the Rockies had a couple off days there early.
Those bets are looking good.
Yeah, just amazing stuff from these guys. But I gotta say, I agree with what you were saying that Bud Black had said. Wow, there was a lot of stuff that got said in that sentence.
So basically, I'm your source, is what you're saying.
That's correct. I've got you here on this one. And Mr. Neal points out, God, imagine when Nolan starts raking, or David Dahl, or Ryan McMahon. And I wrote about this a little bit today. I hope all of you are subscribed to the DNVR.com and got a chance to go and read the article that I published because I took the opposite approach of rather than looking at the Rockies' wins and going through why what they're doing, I believe is sustainable and something that they can continue, not to maybe win at this pace, but why their process should continue to create a decent amount of wins. I took a look at their 3 losses to break down the myth that this is a team that's been inordinately lucky or had things just going their way or that everybody is playing well. And when you see the number of at-bats where if Nolan Arenado had just hit one into left field, the team wins the ball game twice out of 3 losses. So, yeah, will, Chris Owings and Matt Kemp and some of these guys cool off and, will Ryan Castellani eventually give up a hit and maybe even a run? Probably. But Nolan Arenado's not going to sit on a 200 batting average for the season. And so I actually see more on that side of the ledger, Patrick. And I know that I've been accused of being inclined to see things that way in the past. But I see more of David Dahl getting hot at some point, Ryan McMahon getting hot at some point, Nolan Arenado certainly getting hot at some point. And I don't, while I think the pitching is going to come back to earth, I don't think these guys are going to crash enough for those things to balance off and be a wash.
Yeah, look at it from this perspective. If you take that 2007 Rockies World Series team where you had some serious bats there in the middle of the lineup, Brad Hawpe, Garrett Atkins, Troy Tulowitzki, Todd Helton. There are so many.
Matt Holliday was
the other guy. Yes, I was like, who am I forgetting in the outfield?
There's one of those. Yeah.
How many great memories are there, and how many big plays were made by anybody not named those guys? Right between Jamie Carroll and Ryan Spilborghs and Willing Rosario, all of those guys who did not hit 1 through 5 in the lineup. Right, there's so many of them that chipped in, contributed to the greater cause.
Slam in the NLDS.
Precisely right, and that happened, before they made the playoffs. It's just an example of how you win games. It has to be a team effort, and I think for so long, the Rockies have gone without a full team. I think at any point, maybe 6 guys were kind of locked in, maybe 7, but I really think it right now is a point in which you're getting all 9 guys chipping in a major way on a night-to-night basis. And if one of them isn't, Buddy's been able to kind of sub them out. And you say, okay, well, the starter may not have checked that box, but we're going to have Matt Kemp pinch hit and have a sacrifice fly. We scored the run. Okay, check. now we got some production out of that spot in the lineup. So I think you're seeing that again. And a lot was made about Drew Butera starting tonight. We talked about it yesterday. You have to go back and listen to it. But who handled that one hitter, right?
Yes.
We don't know. We don't know what happens if Diaz or Walters is in there. But the bottom line is Butera was there. He made history tonight.
You cannot separate. I'm so glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to mention it because he had a couple of ugly at bats tonight. But I will say this: he saw a ton of pitches. I never expected his swings don't look good. When he takes his hack, and I actually thought, I don't know why they took off the bunt in that one. I was happy they put it on in the first place. Have him bunt. Treat him like a pitcher. I'm fine with it. The guy is there to catch, to call a good game, to manage the game, and he did that. You're 100% correct. You can't separate him from the one hitter. From the history that was made tonight, he called that game. He worked a guy who'd never thrown in Major League Baseball before through 4 perfect innings. And you have to give the catcher credit for that. And that's worth way more than what he could have given you or what he should need to give you out of the 9-hole spot in the lineup when you've got Trevor Story and Charlie Blackmon and Nolan Arenado and all the other guys that you know in this lineup, right? Like, great ball game. A great ball game tonight from Drew Butera.
He saw close to, you were right on that, Drew. He saw close to 30 pitches tonight. So you just, again, all right, the ledger might be barren, no hits, you didn't get on base. That's fine because, again, catcher right now is just a defensive position. You want it to be a defensive position with a young guy on the hill making his debut. You got 4 different pitchers, right, cobbled together for this historic game. But he still was able to contribute something at the plate. And again, that's all you need from all 9 guys in the lineup doing something. And I think probably better than any time other than that run they had really in 2018. They are getting full contributions 1 through 9, and even then some from the bench.
Will writes in a comment here, and I don't know if he intended for me to take it the way I'm going to, but I'm going to. He writes, I love Marquez, but it's a significant improvement to not have a guy hitting 190 behind Tony Wolters. And in normal games, I would totally agree with you, and this DH thing is really great, but you just sparked an idea in my mind. You do not have to DH for the pitcher. And when Marquez is in there, now he throws to Tony, so this isn't going to be an issue. And he's going to throw to Tony. So, but I could think of a world where if Tony wasn't healthy on a given day, he couldn't. Tony wasn't an option. You put Butera in the lineup because he calls a great game and he can catch. But you actually leave Marquez in and you DH for Butera.
I don't know if that's ever happened, to be honest, where you had a position player being hit for rather than the pitcher. So I think that's so taboo. It probably would never happen.
But he would never do that.
Of course, right.
Right. He wouldn't do that to him.
And again, you don't want to chance it and say, hey, does Marquez get hurt? Running down to second base. That's one of the things that happened to a guy like Chin-Ming Wong, who's a name that might not ring a bell to a lot of people, but the dude won back-to-back 20-game seasons with the Yankees, and during an interleague game against Houston, who was in the NL at the time, pulled up lame to second base, and his career was just never the same. And again, as exciting as it is to see pitchers who can rake, like Marquez and Freeland at times too, it's really just not worth it. It's not worth it to have that highlight of Bartolo Colon. You know what I mean? Just for the overall sake of the game, it's something that when the DH comes in 20 years from now, you are not going to really remember that and go, gosh, I really wish so-and-so. I really wish Mike Trout Jr., the pitcher, was hitting. That would be amazing. Thought probably wouldn't even come to you at that point. It is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I see Rachel mentioning Charlie's comments about not wanting to be a half a ball player. And I'll bet you his tune on that will change when his options are half a ball player or not a ball player at all. that's just look. We're all told, right? That's the line from. We're all told one day that you can no longer play the child's game,
That's right.
and Charlie's going to play for as long as he possibly can. And if that means he can only do it because his only value to whatever team he's on at the time, I think we all hope it'll be the Colorado Rockies for the rest of his career. The only way that that's possible is with the DH. And so I think he'll come around.
Yeah, and I also think I wouldn't surprise me if he took a drive down to a Modell's sporting goods store or Dick's Sporting Goods and bought himself a first baseman's mitt and said, "Hey, maybe I could provide something here just to keep my bat in the lineup." Again, depending on what they've got at first base, we know Michael Toglia and Grant Levine are in the pipeline as some quality first basemen. Toglia can play a little outfield as well, so we'll see what happens with that. But again, hey, if that just gets him in the lineup maybe one extra week during the season, then so be it. So that time will come, and it's really almost a surprise that it hasn't happened yet when you look at his age. But that's all a testament to Charlie Blackmon for the work that he puts in after a game. And I don't think I don't know. You and I, Drew, we were talking recently. I think it must have been to somebody else. It wasn't on the podcast. But for anyone who doesn't know, there were times where we go down to the clubhouse and Charlie Blackmon has a big game, or maybe he just had a good game, and you go, "Oh, I just want to pick his brain really quick." Sometimes, almost after everybody else is gone, he comes into the clubhouse after his workout. He just finishes well over an hour after the final out. He's still putting in extra work on a treadmill, weight training, doing whatever he does in his regimen to keep himself sharp. That is how dedicated this guy is that even when that bell goes off and that's the end of the workday and the rest of the Rockies slide down the back of that Brontosaurus and they go home to their wives, he's still going back into the gym and lifting some weights. Hopefully you got that Flintstones reference. I don't think you did, but that's okay.
I'm not the biggest Flintstones guy.
Jetsons guy. Got it. Good to know.
I don't know why those shows never quite, not that we need it, but I don't know. Didn't quite hit with me. So I wanted to find this. Here it is. I wanted to toot my horn a little bit here, but...
Toot away.
No, wrong article. I can't find the specific one, but when Charlie Blackmon was signed by the Colorado Rockies, I referred to it as when he signed the big extension, the big thing the contract he's on now that a lot of people panned at the time. I referred to it as one of the best contracts in team history, and it was because of what you just talked about, and because I knew the age he was at, but I knew the commitment with which he took care of his body and the absolute just maniacal nature of the way he approaches this. And you can't play the outfield forever, but look at Nelson Cruz at 40 years old, out there still hitting well over 300, hitting massive dongers, playing DH because again, you can't you can't field with that body type. But man, it's. Charlie could stay in this league for a long time and hit for a long time. And I think it's going to be really interesting to check back in on these quotes about the DH for a while, because I think it's going to extend his career by 5 years at least. Because the guy can rake and he takes care of his body and he's so smart. And these streaks, he hit over 400 for a month last year. So it's not the only time we've seen him get really, really hot like this. Maybe like this. I don't know. If he does it for another week, this would be the hottest we've ever seen him. But it's because of his approach at the plate. And this team right now really does have the ability to beat you in so many different ways, not the least of which is Charlie Blackmon remains one of the best hitters in all of baseball.
Yeah, and we've had the conversation about Nolan wanting to take the next step forward and basically just kind of cementing his place in Cooperstown and saying, all right, I need to do this for the long haul now. And Last year he made that commitment where he dropped some unnecessary weight, changed his diet. Charlie's obviously, a good 4 years older than Nolan, but it wouldn't shock me if Charlie Blackmon is thinking about the Hall of Fame too. Now he has an incredibly uphill battle, but the thought came to me even before any kind of crazy conversation about Cooperstown is, at what point does Charlie Blackmon start to poke his head into the conversation as, hey, am I on the Mount Rushmore of all-time great Rockies players? Because it's only Helton and Walker that are definitively, carved in stone. We can carve their faces in. They're good to go. There's 2 spots. We'll have to get into a debate about all that. But he's trying to put himself in that upper echelon. And while I think he may have started, too late in his career, only one All-Star appearance before the age of 30, he is a career 306 hitter right now. If he can, cobble together a few more All-Star seasons, even if he has to latch on as, a DH, he might not be able to get certain milestones. He might not be able to hit certain markers like 400 career home runs and things of that nature. He's almost certainly is out of it as far as getting 3,000 hits. But again, the Hall of Fame isn't just for guys that compiled over a long career. It's how good were you for, a considerable amount of time. And right now, Charlie Blackmon is at a point where he's approaching his, 7th really good season. And, with MVP votes already, twice, he was 5th in MVP a few years back. If he can continue doing that, which it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities at 33 years old, 34 years old, maybe at 35, you at least have to have a conversation about it. And it does get me thinking, is that where the genesis of some of this came from, of what he's doing to get his body right of where he needs to be, because he's making that contract look pretty darn good right now.
Yeah, and I really think he could. Like I said, I ended up on Nelson Cruz's Fangraphs page today, and I was kind of looking at that for these guys who are 34, 35 years old, for both Charlie Blackmon and Matt Kemp, who people seem to think was totally done after an injured season a year ago. And, Cruz has actually been better the last 5 years of his career than he was the 5 before that. Now, that's unusual. That's not the norm. But for these guys who are really smart, big power hitters who are becoming lumbering in their older age but still know how to work an at-bat and have always known how to work an at-bat, I think there's life out there for that player. And Blackmon can take a look at a guy like that and go, man, if I, from age 35 to 40, if I put up the kind of numbers that I'm putting up, these couple of years, that may have seemed absurd to me now, but look at him out there now putting out these crazy numbers. So, man, wouldn't that be incredible if he managed to work himself into a Hall of Fame career, mostly from the age of 34 to 40?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And again, just to even be in that conversation is impressive. And again, maybe he's like, when I get on the ballot, I want to make sure I'm on for at least 1 year, right? Which, is no small task, especially with how the Hall of Fame, ballot has been kind of packed with these guys that frankly have Hall of Fame numbers. Maybe some of it is because of performance enhancing drugs and things of that nature. But there's a traffic jam in a lot of ways. So even just sticking around for a year and getting that 5% is something to kind of pat yourself on the back for. So again, all of that is out of his control and is so far down the line. But he's just a really impressive player, and I think even just getting to a point where you could play into your late 30s is impressive nowadays, where that became the norm for so many different guys. Like I keep going back to thinking about a guy like Steve Finley, who was never like a superstar, but he was able to stick around for a long time, played at least until he was 40, has a cardboard cutout of himself at Coors Field. So he ended up doing all right for himself. And once PEDs go away, it becomes a lot harder to stay healthy for that long. We also know young guys coming up through the system on league minimum contracts are a lot more desirable than a veteran who you may even have to pay only $2 million to. It's hard to stick around for a long time. So Charlie's aware of that, and he wants to have a long career. But ultimately, at the end of the day, one season at a time, one game at a time, doing everything he can. And he's been, dare I say, he's been the MVP so far of these 14 games, his first 2 weeks of the season.
He has. Paul asking how much would it help if he hit 400 this year? It certainly wouldn't hurt. They can put an asterisk next to it all they want. He'll be very proud of it. But
how's that for national media?
Yeah, right. Get that attention out there. Do it in a year with 60 games and playing half your games at Coors Field. Start a fight, Charlie Blackmon. I hope he does, just so that we can see people rushing to act like it wasn't an accomplishment to hit 400 over a 60-game season. But we've been saying throughout a lot of the year, the Rockies have done this without anybody being extremely hot. We can't say that anymore. We have to mention the one guy who, well, actually, I got to be straight with you. We got to mention the two of them. We haven't talked about Daniel Murphy too much because he wasn't the big hero in this game, but he did have another RBI, another couple of hits, 375 batting average on the year. He continues to look amazing, and still you got folks coming in saying correctly, I think, Arenado winning MVP. How about that? What if that's how it came out, that he actually had a good enough season from here on out that it was Arenado who won MVP? That would shock 0 people. That's the untapped potential in an 11-3 team.
Yeah, I think even if you go on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, you'll probably notice the line hasn't changed. And you're like, oh, come on, he's hitting 180 something. It's certainly I should be getting paid more for putting some money on him. Right, it would not be shocking at all. And maybe that's what's happening right now is he's he might be pressing just a little bit too much because he wants to win as an individual with each and every one of his at bats. And he also wants his team to win, but he wants both of those things. Yeah. And while his team is winning right now, he's not winning at the plate. Went 0 for 5 again tonight, and everyone around him is hitting literally. Charlie Blackmon goes out, is 3 for 5. As you said, Daniel Murphy playing fantastically, hitting 372. He's 5th right now in batting average across baseball, across MLB. So you got two guys right there that could possibly hit 400 for the Rockies, which would almost defeat the purpose of hitting 400 to begin with. Only one of them can. One of them has to step aside and go, look, you're the guy. Look, let's not be crazy.
No. All right. Well, we have done a lot of podcasts this week, and so we don't actually owe any of our sponsors any further shout-outs, but I just want to say they really help us out, and anytime you can help them out, it also helps us out, and it helps you out because you get some beer, like from Breckenridge Brew. Vanilla Porter is what I'm drinking here as the Rockies go to 11-3. You go down to Green Mountain Dental. They take care of your teeth. That helps you out. You get some Strava Craft coffee. It helps you get going in the morning. It doesn't give you the jitters. That helps you out.
And they got that at the bar now, at our DNVR bar.
Real.
You can get Strava there now.
All of that stuff. You go to msu.edu/online, you get smarter. That helps you out. All that stuff really does help all of us out here in the Denver and Colorado and Rockies community. Those of you out there who are not actually here in state, we hear you, we see you, we love you, and we want to make sure that everyone feels a part of this Colorado Rockies community. So, Mr. Neal noticing that I am wearing the Purple Rain shirt on the evening. Can't wait to hear that at Coors in November someday, Mr. Neal says. It would be the perfect... I mean, if there's a parade through Denver and they don't play Purple Rain, they are missing out. But again, getting ahead of ourselves. Before that, Germán Marquez has got to pitch tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there.
Take the over. Take the over on whatever strikeouts you get.
Take the over.
Take the under as far as hits go. If the amount of hits the Mariners are going to get is 0.5, take the under. You may see a no-hitter tomorrow.
You really could.
You can't ever say that. I'm like, should I feel stupid for saying that? But
no,
it really feels like
it's not a good lineup. And the ball doesn't travel there. I'm curious to see it in the daytime if someone runs into one, but no, it's no, you should. And Marquez, and I mean, we'll do this, especially if he has another sterling start here. We'll dive inside the numbers because I've been looking at some stuff in terms of like how many pitches he's got on the edge, what his whiff rate is, like all the really nitty gritty stuff. He's pitching well because he's pitching well is the spoiler. If you're wondering why, he's throwing a lot of great pitches in really good spots with a lot of movement and velocity and all of those things that you need to pitch well. But yeah, it's going to be I suspect it'll be a tough day for the Mariners.
And I'm seeing these parallels to what he did last year in San Francisco, where it was the 16th game of the season. It was a Sunday, right? And it was in it was in San Francisco, not exactly the Pacific Northwest, but certainly the Pacific and West and North California.
I'm counting it.
And in this instance, it's not the 16th game. It'll be the 15th game in the true Pacific Northwest against a way worse lineup than the Giants had last year. And I don't know, it's lining up. It's too obvious. He's probably going to give up a leadoff home run now. You can blame me.
That's right.
That's fine.
If the first one's of a double in the gap or over the wall,
you can blame it on
me. You know it's on Patrick. Otherwise, you can pick up one of these Purple Rain shirts at DNVRLocker.com. You got to subscribe to the DNVR.com in general if you don't want to miss out on any of that written content, including the article I wrote taking you through the Rockies' losses, which I'm sure is exactly what you wanted to do at this point. Hey, when they're 11-3, you can kind of romanticize the oh yeah, remember that one time.
Drew, it probably could have just been a tweet, right? Because there's only 3 losses, so I mean, you couldn't have just tweeted that out.
Right. It's just, here's the first one, the second one, the third one. Here's what happened. Yeah,
you could fit that into like 200 characters.
Yeah, right. I probably could have, but I'm a very wordy person. So if you want to read all those words, you got to head over to the DNVR.com. If you want to read the shorter versions of stuff, as Patrick was saying, well, then you got to subscribe. Is that what you do on social media? You don't. You follow. That feels so weird. Follow.
Follow me.
Be a leader out there, but also follow us on social media at Drew Creasman, at Patrick D. Lyons, at DNVR_Rockies. As I mentioned, make sure you got to get that merch out there at the DNVRLocker.com. And just keep being awesome. Keep being absolutely awesome out there. We will continue to be absolutely Patrick Lyons and Drew Creasman in here. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.